The leaders of the Twin Flames universe are currently under investigation for, alleged misconduct.
One of the properties raided was a mansion in northern Michigan that served as the group's headquarters. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel announcing that an ongoing investigation is being conducted into the group's founders. Twin Flames Universe gained notoriety following Amazon documentaries that revealed allegations of control, coercion, and psychological pressure.
That's not the point of this video. No, I'm over here watching their videos and learning their teachings. Because even unscrupulous, money-grubbing criminals, allegedly, have plenty to teach us. No, I'm serious. Everyone can teach us something. Let me prove it to you. Today, we're going to look at one of the Twin Flame Universe's teachings, the main teaching as far as I can tell, called the mirror exercise. The official YouTube video that I will be showing you is subtitled that it is the only tool you will ever need, which makes me doubt their ability as teachers, but let's see what they have to say anyway. We're going to watch it, we're going to critique it, and then we're going to correct it so that we can actually use it to grow spiritually, interpersonally, and in the lives we live on a daily basis. So, are you ready to learn from exploitative alleged cult leaders? I am! Let's go!
Are you upset or something bothering you? Do the mirror exercise. Learn in this short video how to heal your upsets by loving yourself, using the mirror exercise taught by Jeff and Shelia.
Did you see that? Let's watch it again.
Jeff and Shelia.
Yeah, that cartoon's mouth is definitely moving even though they're not saying anything. And I mean, no cartoon actually says anything, they're just a drawing, no noise actually comes out of any mouth of a cartoon character. That's just not how reality works. It's kind of synced up later, but you already know this. Okay. My point is that it looks like there used to be words there and there aren't words now, and the only thing I can think of that would fit into that spot would be the last names of Jeff and Shelia. Now, why would they delete that? Are they trying to hide their identity? Because they're public figures and we all know their last names, right? It's what is their last names actually? Let me go look. Jeff, Shelia, Twin Flames last name. The current last name used by the founders of the Twin Flames universe is Divine, though they were both born with different names and previously used other surnames. Well, that's not suspicious at all. Current and former names: Jeff Divine, born Jeffrey Ayan. He also briefly used the name Ender Aeonathos. Is he ending his former last name? Because if he is, the Aeon part of Aeonathos has to go away, and then we're just left with Ethos. Can you imagine being named Ethos? No first name, no last name, just Ethos. No one would ever doubt your moral or ethical superiority again, but it doesn't look like he did that. What a missed opportunity. Shelia Divine, born Megan Plant. Plant, huh? She should have been named Aubrey. She would have never changed her name if she'd been named Aubrey. I mean, anyone would see that reference and just think, wow, this is the coolest name ever. It's nothing like Megan Plant, which is just kind of, I don't know. It's fine. It's a fine name, but Aubrey Plant? Oh, it would be so perfect. But she didn't keep that name, or, well, she never had that name, but she didn't keep her actual name anyway. She went ahead and changed it to, let me see. She took the name Shelia Ayan after marrying Jeff in 2016 before they both transitioned to the surname Divine. So they've always been big on transitioning. It isn't just about coercing their members into becoming men because they don't have enough. They transition in all kinds of ways, including transitioning into the last name of Divine. The couple began using divine professionally and legally as they expanded their spiritual organization, often appearing in current media and their own publications under this name. Okay, so that's the answer to my question. Their newest name is Divine. That's what they censored, and No, having the last name of Divine is the cringiest thing I can possibly imagine. I totally understand why they wanted to censor that. Mystery solved. Back to the video.
It teaches you how to love yourself from within and take your power back from anything outside of you that is making you unhappy. In this example, we see how Susie heals herself from feeling rejected. Step 1. Identify the upset. I'm upset at Bob because he is rejecting me.
Okay, this is good, but it's very limited and it's oversimplified. Figuring out why we're upset, why we're angry or afraid or anything else we don't particularly want to feel is a deep, nuanced, long process. Come here. Oh, this is not working out today. Even something as simple as feeling rejected, which is the example they use, can have a lot of different roots that are worth exploring. And each of those roots hints at a different potential solution. Taking myself as an example, because I know you all want to know everything about me. I primarily consciously felt rejected in my life by my peers, particularly at school. This is rooted in being irredeemably weird thanks to my neurology. This is not a problem, and it became not a problem when I learned the root of it and realized that yes, some people are going to react negatively, and that's okay. Before I figured out the root, I did tend to reject myself in the way that the mirror exercise is suggesting. There are a couple different ways you can react when you feel rejected because someone else is actually rejecting you, especially when it's a bunch of people rejecting you. You can either work on yourself, change yourself, or you can realize that you don't need the approval of other people. These are very different courses of action. I also felt rejected by my dad when I was growing up because he wasn't really present. And that made me feel all the typical things you would expect from all kinds of daddy issues for a very long time. But then I got older and found out that he had tried to get custody of me after my mother divorced him. But he failed to attain that custody, mostly because it was the 1980s and he was a man. And that changed the whole feeling organically. I didn't have to do anything internally because I just realized there was no problem to begin with. There never had been, it was just a lack of information. I also felt rejected by my mother as a child, even though she was there, mostly because I'm basically a gender-swapped version of my dad, and she never really understood him or could work very well with him for reasons that are probably attributable to our neurodivergence again. That was more complicated and had many other nuances associated with it, but it required different steps to resolve than simply learning more information or deciding to conform or not to conform. In the end, I had to examine her role in my life, my role in her life, and forgive and accept where we all were for each other and where we all weren't for each other as I was growing up. That allowed the weight to be lifted without needing to blame or shame anyone for any appreciable length of time. Everyone's imperfect, and you can accept that without blaming anyone. But let's go on with their video and see if they get into any of these nuances or various different stories that could occur when someone feels a strong and unpleasant emotion.
Step 2. Change all of the nouns and pronouns to point to yourself. I am upset at myself because I am rejecting myself.
Okay, that's what they're going with. Despite my reaction, this actually isn't that bad. It is a way of reframing the situation to see if there are significant internal factors leading to or exacerbating your discomfort. That was certainly true in some of the examples I discussed about myself as I was growing up. The way that my peers responded to me in particular absolutely led to me rejecting myself. They were cool, they were normal, people liked them. I wanted to be liked. I wanted very much to be liked. So clearly, I needed to be more like them. That is a very direct internal rejection of myself, and it definitely exaggerated the pain that I felt, especially because I kind of suck at masking and I never was able to fit in despite how much I wanted to and tried to. It was always off in a way they could tell somehow. And yes, my case with my mom was similar. Her rejection of me did lead to a sort of internal rejection. But my dad's case was totally different. I felt rejected by him simply because he wasn't there. I can't just turn things around and look at myself and say, am I not there for myself? I very much was there for myself. I didn't want to be there for myself. I wanted to escape myself and become someone else entirely. But I was there. I did not at any point abandon myself. I was not at any point pulled away from myself and forced to stay away by legal codes and circumstance. It doesn't always work. That's really what I'm pointing out. If you only look inward, you're going to miss so many variables that are genuinely important, not just to how you feel, which is, again, not the only important factor here, but to what's going on and what you can do about it. As demonstrated by my own story, this step can reveal nuances about the situation that are absolutely worth unveiling. You do need to work through the self-rejection when other people reject you when that is in play. Absolutely. It's just not the only thing you need to work through. So, good lesson if used with care and not used alone. Let's go on to step 3 and see if that's any more robust.
Step 3. Is this true? Hint, the answer is always yes.
Really, it's right every time, every single time. We just talked about why that isn't true in detail. I'm okay. All right, let's play it. Let's watch the illustration that demonstrates what they're talking about.
Yes, I reject myself because I always tell myself I don't deserve love. I am doing this to myself, what Bob does to me.
It's so gross. Her rejecting herself, even if it's a chronic thing that she does, doesn't change the fact that someone else is rejecting her and that she needs to work through that dynamic if in fact she is being rejected. And in a lot of cases we feel rejected because we are rejected. Not always, as discussed in my own story, but often. And it's important to differentiate what's happening in the physical world instead of just worrying about what we feel. What we feel is only half of the equation. It's an important half. It's the half we control most intimately, but it's only half of it. We should absolutely control our emotions. We should absolutely understand the internal way these things operate and reverberate, and we should heal that. But we also shouldn't take shit from outside. None of this. We can have none of this. Oh, Bob did nothing wrong. Bob said something, but it was really me creating this feeling of rejection. He can keep doing everything he's doing, and I should stay around and care about him. I just need to blame me and deal with my problem internally because he didn't do anything wrong. No, all it does is sustain dangerous and unhealthy relationships. As we've seen in some of the twin flames thing, like them encouraging people to be stalkers or stay in abusive relationships. I'll show some clips on that. I wasn't planning on it, but I can go get them.
Had filed a restraining order, but according to Jeff and Shalia, you only have one twin flame and you have to make that relationship work. Told by a coach that the restraining order wasn't real. There was other people who had restraining orders. It was sort of seen as just like something that you had to work on within yourself.
I didn't know the cycle of narcissistic abuse. And then I was trauma bonded to this person, and I kept accepting the breadcrumbs, and I kept accepting, like, he would have a narcissistic rage and send me text messages and get his rage, and then he'd be done, and then we'd go back to our little love bubble. So it was like continually the cycle. And the twin flame stages were identical. They are identical to the cycles of narcissistic abuse.
All of this is bad. We need to understand the full extent of what we can control in a situation. Yes, our thoughts, our emotions, we can do a lot to control that. That's great. But we are human beings. We can move, we can think, we can plan, we can act. We can also change our environment and the situations we put ourselves into. Not doing that when we have the power to do it, when we have the money, the strength, the time, and the space to do it. That's just self-harm. And we don't want that. We don't want any of that. All right, let's watch step 4.
Step 4. Give yourself the love that you need. Go within to meet that part of you who feels upset. Ask what it needs to feel loved and give it until that part is satisfied, and let that part melt back into you. I see my inner child. She just needs a nice warm blanket and a loving hug. I feel she's becoming one with me. How do you feel now? I feel completely loved and accepted.
This is actually really good advice, and it's actually a really good idea to do it the way that they advise. Sitting still, turning inwards, and addressing what's going on without judgment and with love, that's excellent. But as discussed, you can't just do that. You also need to address what's happening in your life when that is at all possible, and it often is. We control our life, not just our mind and heart.
After you have completed the mirror exercise, the same situation either stops happening or it's simply not upsetting you anymore.
And this section, it's just a huge problem. An actual external problem doesn't change just because you changed how you feel about it. That's not reality, that's fantasy. That's daydreaming and hoping that daydreaming will solve your problems for you. It won't. This kind of exercise will only solve problems and stop them from happening if you genuinely were imagining the whole problem. The fact that this teaching suggests that the problem is always within you kind of implies that no one else is ever the problem, it's always you, which just creates a very vulnerable set of people. Anyone who listens to this teaching and takes it seriously will start gaslighting themselves. They're basically trained to say, oh, I saw this. No, I didn't see this. I saw me doing this instead, which it's classic gaslighting, but it's internalized gaslighting, which is really insidious. No valid spiritual teacher will tell someone to doubt their reality. They will encourage questioning, investigation, finding nuance, finding compromise, and finding what is real through the blur of our emotions and our preconceptions. But they won't say you are always the problem. You need to fix yourself internally, and if you do, everything outside of you will magically get better. That's just a liar. Now, can you make misbehavior and terrible circumstances outside of you not upsetting internally? Yeah, absolutely. It's not even that hard. All you really have to do is dissociate while claiming that you're okay. But if you do that when there are remediable problems around you, you are basically allowing the very real specter of evil to subsist and persist and strengthen around you. You don't want to keep cleaning someone's house when they're holding you hostage and harming you on a daily basis. You don't want to leave a false idea unchallenged. You want to correct what can be corrected. You don't want to let wrongs persist just because you are not personally bothered by them. Apathy is not a solution, no matter what Morgan Freeman says. Apathy may make you feel okay, but it will not make you happy, and it will not make the world a better place. And any spiritual path of any real worth will encourage you not just to be internally happy, but to spread and radiate that happiness to those around you. You don't just want to grow yourself, you want the whole world to be enriched by what you've learned to do and what you've learned that you can do, but were held back from before you learned the lessons of your path. In other words, don't pacify yourself. Fight. Fight for what's right and what's good. Fight for what makes happiness proliferate in the world, not just for you, but for all and sundry. If you don't, you wind up with people like this Jeff guy taking all the monies and all the service and all the work from people, and they'll be sad and feel guilty about how they feel sad and how they've abandoned themselves and rejected themselves when he's going off and doing, well, this.
Yo, I'm rich. This is my house. This is the back of it. This is my pool, my slide, 85-inch TV screen. You know, I could purchase one of those every single week. $15,000 in crystals here. This is the Porsche. It's a $100,000 Porsche. One of the finest Corvettes that you can possibly buy today. Yeah. Literally this morning, I was brushing my teeth.
It's been a ride.
And I'm like thinking about some math, and I'm just like, I'm a fucking millionaire.
Yeah, I know.
You see what I mean? No. We don't help that kind of thing happen. We fight that.
The more you use this tool, the more you find that you have the power to transform your life.
Will this really transform your life, or will it help you tolerate others exploiting you? Especially if you're only changing your heart and your mind and not changing the world at all, the answer is obvious. Act consciously, act deliberately, and move towards what you want and need. Don't just blame yourself for any unhappiness you feel.
To find the more in-depth description of the mirror exercise by Jeff.
Alright, good. At least the clipper's gone now. You're not being directed to a book you can buy on Amazon about this in this video. They can advertise on their own platform. Okay, so we've covered the mirror exercise as they teach it, and I think you can see the flaws. But we haven't spent nearly as much time covering the benefits. I wanted to kind of get into that and what you can find from turning inwards when you're upset with someone else in a kind of reframed version of the mirror exercise. This one is supplemented not by crudely drawn cartoon figures, but by classic art, because that's what I like. So, let's straighten things out, let's find what's good, and let's take that with us while forgetting all the passivity and the self-guilt and all that and everything else that they seem to be advising us to do. First, look inwards. When we first look in the mirror, everything is indistinct, fuzzy. We're not sure where the line is between us and the rest of the world. And we may even be scared of what we'll find if we really look at ourselves, if we really examine what's there. But we must look. When we do, the view sharpens. When we start to see things as they are, when we really look at ourselves, the world initially darkens. Gloom and shadows fall across our vision as we see not what upset us before, not what turned us to the mirror, but the shadows within ourselves that were hidden from us when we only observed the external world. It's dark. We are dark. It's frightening. We are frightening. And we're right to be worried about what lies within. Terror, as we feel full well, awaits us. But we must look. And soon the horrors arise. We see ourselves as depraved monsters, objects of terror, shameful creatures full of selfish, antisocial, hurtful impulses. If we continue to stare into that abyss, we soon see that horror staring back in clarity. That clarity brings a surprise. We see that they too, the parts of us we fear and hide in shame, are human, are part of us, are lovable. We cannot turn our eyes from this new mystery. It draws us in. We must look. And slowly the horror begins to transform, to transmogrify, to transition, like some people, into something new, something that does not exclude the horror, but is not only horror. We now feel and see not only shame, but also see the fascination, even the delightful lovability of this part of ourselves. This part that scared us so deeply, so recently. After seeing this mystery begin to unfold, we're drawn in not from fear, not with dread, but from curiosity, with a very real attraction. What is this monster, and might it, too, be worthy of love? When we lean in, the answer becomes obvious. The world brightens and our vision clears, overcome by warm, opalescent tones, flickering, flaming, and shining brightly with the fire of life. Yes, this is us, and it is beautiful, beautiful beyond anything we could have ever foreseen. We were blind, but now we see. We look, we lean in with delight, seeing our colors burst into brilliant flower as we admire the greatness we can no longer avoid adoring. The greatness in the parts of ourselves we never knew before this day. We fall in love, inevitably, with ourselves, much as the twin flames teachers advised that we should. We kiss our metaphorical mirrors, find comfort and fulfillment and satisfaction in ourselves, and forget the world entirely. We're all that's here. Us and our love for us. No more than that is necessary. No more than that is wanted. But soon this intensity, this overwhelming love of self, brings us to our knees. We are exhausted, awed, sated, and after a final preening glance, we pull away from our mirror, we turn from ourselves, and we see if anything else is half as worthy of our gaze. Always, the answer is yes. There is echo for Narcissus, and we, the lovers of our reflection, must learn to notice her lovely visage on the edges of the pool that shows us so much beauty in ourselves. If we truly look, we'll see the same depth, that same universe of light and shadow, of fear and hope, of rage and adoration that we adore in ourselves, and it becomes easy, all too easy, to turn from our reflection and embrace the others that surround us. We no longer need to placate and convince ourselves. We simply explore the divinity in the others before us. Their venerability is inescapable after all that we've seen. We see ourselves in them, and them in us. And so we turn from the mirror, setting it down, running our hands along the beauty we see outside of ourselves, and allowing its splendor to wash over us, to overcome us, to fill and sate us as a mirror alone never could. The world is the best and truest mirror, and we turn inwards not to tolerate what lies without, but to learn to accept its curves and arches, to accustom ourselves to run towards the parts of our environment that create that divine spark of enthralled adoration we call love. We are full of shadows and light, and so is the wall beside us, so is the world around us. We can long for it as Echo longs for Narcissus. Confronting our fear and our shame of ourselves lets us embrace ourselves. And the world is no different. It is not even other. It has all of that depth, all of that nuance, all of that beauty just as we do. It's no mistake that this painting shows the edges between the subject and her world dissolving. It's the same for us. Embracing ourselves, once we realize our true nature, is embracing all. After that journey, the world is the mirror, the bauble in her hand a trivial trinket reflecting nothing, or, at least, no more than the world we see. Clarity, honesty, acceptance, satisfaction, we must have all of this both inside ourselves and in our worlds. And we can, we do, when we love, when we make the world safer, more beautiful, more wondrous, and happier, rather than merely working to mitigate the pain that we feel on encountering all that surrounds us. Love is inevitable. It overflows for anyone who performs this task well. No twin flame lover, no courses, and no fees required. It is free for all. If we look in the real mirror, the great mirror of the world, and if we recognize ourselves and all the beauty within and without us in its visage, if we recognize all of its beauty in us, we will have all of that love, and nothing, no circumstance, no ordeal can take it from us. It is ours, eternally. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.